Hello and welcome to The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Rakhee Bakshee. In this show, as you know, that we keep talking to leading personalities, and each week we bring you new faces, and the person right now we are talking to and who's the guest with us on the show is a seasoned diplomat, an eminent person we can call him, also India's permanent representative at the United Nations. We are talking to Mr. Hardeep Puri. Welcome to the show, sir. And of course also now into politics, a BJP leader, I must say. Welcome to the show, sir. You come with varied kind of background and personality. It's very, really honorable to talk to you. But tell us, how does it feel to be on the show, first of all?
I must start by telling you that it feels good, because when I come on this show, I have a reasonable expectation that I'll be allowed to respond to the questions that you ask me, which is not the case in all the shows that one is invited to attend. But I'm writing a piece on what I call the cantankerous anchor, in defense of the cantankerous anchor.
Media better watch it.
And I think the cantankerous anchor also has his or her uses. But let me start by telling you a little something from my experience. You know, I've been a civil servant for 39 years. I've been trained as a civil servant. The first and abiding impression that you have of any civil servant is that the person is taught to be discreet, taught to be low-key, and to the extent possible, anonymous and faceless.
But the hot seat where you were in, sir, you were headquarters.
Yeah, but you cannot be. I mean, I've served out of 15 years as an ambassador. I have served for nearly 9 years as India's permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva and New York. Now, if I had chosen to be the quintessential civil servant there and chosen to be anonymous, then you would have had India not being represented. So there are honorable exceptions. But I want to take that from the world of the civil service to the world of politics, which I joined.
Yeah.
And you described me as a BJP leader. I'm flattered, but I'm anything but that. I am just a new entrant to the Bharatiya Janata Party. Having said that...
And why politics, sir? I mean...
No, it is not politics. Let me just tell you, when I retired, when I was due to retire after 39 years, I wrote a letter to my colleagues in the Indian Foreign Service. And I told them that I was going to reinvent myself. And part of that reinvention was that I was going to leave the civil service part of my persona behind, and I'm going to do new things. Now, politics is not for me a profession. I joined the Bharatiya Janata Party because I believed in the message of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And I think some people who commented saying that I'm joining the Bharatiya Janata Party in order to work with the government and join a new government because the Bharatiya Janata Party was going to win were completely wrong. I joined the party. I was willing to contest for a Lok Sabha seat. The party didn't give me a ticket. That's a different issue. But I'm a part of the party. And I can share with you, I was actually invited to join the government, which I don't talk about, but I have no desire to join the government.
Because you carry with yourself varied experience, especially so much of experience on foreign policy,
yeah,
and that's what I think the party expects to gain from.
Foreign policy is something I've done for 39 years. Last 15 years as an ambassador, having presided over the Security Council of the United Nations, I think I've had my fill on that. So coming
you don't have, actually, you still continue, because now you're Secretary General of ICM, which is
well,
such
I'm
an
Secretary General of the ICM, but that is a different kind of work. That is an independent commission which has been set up under Kevin Rudd, the former Prime Minister of Australia. He's the chair. I'm the Secretary General of that, to look at the functioning of the multilateral system on its 70th anniversary, to see if the UN and the multilateral system is fit for purpose. That's a different kind of work. But to be a civil servant again, to follow a routine from, 14-hour working day starting at 9 in the morning to going, I think I've had my fill of that. But let me say that politicians also, we are looking at a very different world of politics today. I think those politicians who conduct politics in the drawing rooms by looking at surveys, how many Ayers, Iyengars are there in this constituency, how many Ahirs are there, how many Banyas.
You are saying, sir, the patterns have changed? Do you think the arithmetic of politics has changed?
Completely changed. What you are now experiencing, Rakhee, is not the traditional paradigm. You are now looking at what I call citizenship empowerment. And the politician who is able to get it right, Shri Narendra Damodar Das Modi, the Prime Minister of India, who is, I think, understood the pulse of the people better than anyone else. He has understood that at a particular point of time, people were looking for development, for vikas. And if you are able to articulate that development message and communicate with the people, that is it.
So we are talking at a time when Delhi elections are just on our head.
Well, let me tell you, I think and I hope that the Delhi BJP does well for the sake of my party. But if for some reason it does not do well, then the BJP will have to ask itself as to why it has succeeded at a national level and had difficulties at the Delhi level. Because I find that the politics of Delhi today, the constituencies are very different. You have a wide variety. You have the civil service segment, they have their own issues, but the bulk of the segment are the people in the JJ colonies.
True, very true.
And they have demand for basic amenities. These are issues of electricity, water, those are issues of day-to-day survival.
But somehow we have to use the term Aam Aadmi, which is also something the party has
you can
named
use
itself for.
Aam Aadmi. The BJP's manifesto in the last election, I discovered in the first 5 pages had the Aam Aadmi word 4 times. I used it during the 2014 election. Look, elections and democratic processes are about social inclusion. They are about empowering citizens, and increasingly the world over, it is not the traditional politics which is going to work, it is citizenship empowerment. Let me give you 2 examples. Rakhee, we are adding 5 million phones to the population of India every month. That is going to be 60 million phones every year. The internet penetration, this is a new world, social media, internet, reaching out. The total internet penetration in India still is less than 20%. What is India going to look like when the internet penetration becomes 40%? It's going to be a completely new ball game. So you cannot then call people and say we are going to distribute tickets by looking at a survey, how many X part of the community are there, how many Y
Is it that if it goes in the favor of a particular party, then it says, oh, no, surveys are fine, and if it doesn't, then we say that surveys are not.
I am making a completely different point. The politician of today is still 60%. The old politician, 50s, 60s, 70s, where people vote according to caste or they vote according to group. I place the following proposition before you. Any individual, you, me, we have multiple identities. I am a citizen of India. I am a proud Indian. I am also a Sikh. I am also a father. I am also, at some stage I was an employee. At some stage I become an employer. Which part of my persona resonates with a party, and which part of a political party's message resonates with the individual?
That's a very interesting take that you are, or insight that you're sharing with us here.
What I'm telling you is, I am not prepared to believe that in 2017 we will have the same issues which we had in 2004, in 2009, in 2013, 14.
And this will go on. This is a very interesting conversation we have with you right now, but we have to take a very small break out here. And you are watching The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV, and we are talking to Mr. Hardeep Puri. Don't go away. We still have many more interesting things coming up.
कागज पर उतरी रेखाएं, नेता के माथे चिंताएं, ब्यूरोक्रेसी तनी तनी सी, पब्लिक लेकिन खिली खिली सी, लेता है सबकी वो खबर, धारदार है इसकी नजर, नहीं बोलता ये किरदार, लेकिन सब हैं खबरदार, पढ़ने वाले का जीते मन, सिर्फ एक है वही लक्ष्मण। देखिए विरासत में इस बार आर के लक्ष्मण का कार्टून संसार।
Welcome back to the show. You're watching The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV, and we are talking to Mr. Hardeep Puri right now. So you were talking about the political scenario as it is now. You're saying that citizens have become more powerful. You think it has really become that powerful that it understands the real value of its vote today?
Absolutely. The change lies in the fact that there is a much greater degree of consciousness. I must tell you, when I joined the Bharatiya Janata Party, and it was a great education for me, and it's an education which is still continuing. In one of the strategy sessions I sat through, and I decided I was just going to watch what they were discussing. There was an inherent presumption at that point of time, and this, was before the 2014 elections, which we did very well in. There was an inherent presumption that the people respond to a particular kind of message, and the advertising message which you use to reach the people must respond to that appreciation. I had doubts even then, and I have more doubts now, because I believe that the mass, and I'm quoting Machiavelli to you on this, the mass is wiser and more constant than a prince. So if you take a particular message which is anchored in a local issue, in a place at one point of time, you will have to carefully evaluate whether you can go back to the same constituency with the same message 5 years hence. Now, in 2004, the victory of the UPA, in my view, was a surprise victory, because the NDA and the Bharatiya Janata Party in particular were of the opinion that India was shining. So I think parts of India were shining, and then came the elections. The parts of India which were shining went off on a holiday, and all the others who had possibly made India shine but were not shining themselves, they went out to vote, and we had a wake-up call. In 2009, again, my own sense is that some parts of the UPA agenda resonated well. I mean, there is a point that in rural areas there was one message, the Mahatma Gandhi's Manrega, some parts, I am not persuaded by that, but I think the Bharatiya Janata Party did not have its act together in 2009. And then you came to...
But we are talking about a time against, sorry to interrupt here, is Achhe Din slogan, which has to again carry on.
Yeah, but on the Achhe Din slogan, make no mistake, either the Achhe Din are there, or there has to be confidence that Achhe Din are coming. So I think just now, yes, I think we have an advantage, because there is the very positive message that the Prime Minister was able to build up, and I think that will see us through at this point of time. But make no mistake, at the end of the day, come another 2 months, 3 months, the budget, and after that, you will then have to demonstrate that Achhe Din are really there. Just now, I could make out a good case that Achhe Din are here, because global commodity prices have come down, the price of petrol and diesel has come down, inflation is under control. I think that the discerning voter will realize that something good is happening.
But people largely still expect that corruption really, truly has to come down. Truly has to go away.
I totally agree.
And that's where I think when we talk to people, that's the sense we get, that they really want an easy life, a life full of dignity, a life which has, all these amenities that you talk about. So that is something on their agenda. And let's see how this election actually...
I am not, an election Pandit, and I have not studied, I must tell you, what's going on in the Delhi election. But what is clear is that the party which ruled Delhi for a very extended period of time, the Congress party, is not in the electoral fray. Okay. Clearly, last time when you had elections to Delhi, BJP was the number one.
Something new happened, sir, last time, and emergence of a new party, Aam Aadmi Party.
Number one, emergence of a new party. But the BJP was still the single largest party at that stage. The other party tried to form a government, was in government for 49 days, but they were not able to demonstrate that they had the requisite staying power and the ability to govern Delhi. They ran away after 49 days. Now, I am not saying that you can hold that against them totally, but it will have to be factored in by the electorate. The BJP, on the other hand, I think has demonstrated that it has a all India canvas on which there is a government in Delhi, and I think the point that the Prime Minister made at a rally yesterday is that, look, if you have a government in Delhi which has to be conscious of the fact that it is part of a party which is also in power at the center, then the pressure on the government in Delhi to deliver, this is I think the sense of what he said, is that much greater. So I expect that it's a close fight, but I believe that at the end of the day, the Delhi voter will once again demonstrate faith in the BJP. The message will be that, all right, we are doing this, but pull up your socks. We need delivery to be shown on the ground.
That, of course,
so it is going to be we will win. We will be the single largest party, and I'm sure we will be over 35. That's my view. But it will come qualified with a message saying, get into delivery.
Sure. So this is about elections, but moving on now to foreign policy, and we are talking now that the US President Obama was here and he's gone back. What really do you think are the real gains? I mean, the gains that we have been talked about, the gains that we see strategically, defense cooperation has been there, but if you have to highlight with your expertise.
Rakhee, I would say that the biggest takeaway from the second Obama visit is, number one, we have been able to shed our inhibition that we can and we want a upgraded relationship with the United States. We were always little reluctant here. They were reluctant. They viewed India through the prism of the Cold War. They thought that our non-alignment was a stumbling block in better relations with the United States. And we thought that if we do business with them, nuclear deal, we will be perceived as having fallen into a trap. I think you have a prime minister with a strong mandate. This has given him the flexibility to reboot and recraft foreign policy. I think we have clearly signaled that we would like the relationship with the United States to be part of a new multi-alignment that we are seeking. But we are willing to give the United States the preeminent position of first among equals. But we will also seek equal relations with the Chinese. We will seek that with the other countries like Japan, etc. But we are willing to give it a try with the United States. Now, I think it is extremely significant that the Prime Minister of India could visit Washington in September and invite President Obama to be the chief guest. Please do not forget that a Prime Minister in election mode was subject to a visa denial for 10 years. And only last year or the year before that, the United States was strip searching a senior Indian diplomat in New York. So see the turnaround from visa denial and strip searching to the two meeting and him being the chief guest at the Republic Day celebration. This itself contains optics which are very significant. Now,
I think about the gains, we'll have to really talk it in another segment, but right now again we are taking a very short break and there's so much more on the Obama visit that Mr. Hardeep Puri is going to talk about, but don't go away, still watch The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV.
साल दर साल देश ने देखा पहली बार राष्ट्रपति और उपराष्ट्रपति का चुनाव, 18 विधानसभाओं और लोकसभा का चुनाव, शानदार और निष्पक्ष कवरेज। सिर्फ राज्यसभा टीवी पर।
Welcome back to the show. You're watching The Quest on Rajya Sabha TV. We are in conversation with Mr. Hardeep Puri. So you were talking about the gains or expectations rather that we had and how it has been fulfilled or not really. We are going to talk to you about that. Huge expectations. Do you think realism is there still in terms of, let's say, the nuclear deal? Are we extra enthused or is it real?
No, I am by temperament somebody who believes in cold realism. And even when I'm optimistic, I'm cautiously optimistic. The good news is that both the chief executives in the United States and India have sent a message to their respective bureaucracies that let's try and make this work. The Americans have gone away disappointed in some respects. They didn't get any movement on the bilateral investment treaty, on trade, on intellectual property. They would have wanted something more. They would have also wanted us to signal a China kind of bilateral agreement on climate change. We on our part would have expected the Americans to be able to also commit themselves on some issues like the permanent membership of the Security Council. President Obama used the same words last time in the agreement in 2010, which we've used in 2014. Nothing came of it. The Americans were not helpful. So bilateral relationships of the kind that you have with the United States, you have to be realistic about what is doable. You've got to cut out the hype and see what are the areas where you can deliver this. Now, you can say that, well,
but does it stay there or it goes a step further? I
well,
mean,
it can go either a step further or it can go a step down. Now, to say that the Prime Minister immediately set off, the External Affairs Minister to go to China as a counter to this, I mean, this is absurd. An event called the Russia-India-China trilateral RIC was already scheduled. So she was already going there. So to say that one has happened and the other has not happened. To say that we are going to see greater strategic convergence, yes, but the strategic convergence must come on terms which are acceptable to us. So it will require a lot of give and take.
But this China prism is always there. This prism
it is there, but I do not think it is either in the United States' interest or in India's interest to attempt what is called the containment of China. Look, US-China trade is $500 billion. India-US trade is only $100 billion. And 4 years ago, the Americans and the Chinese were trying to set up a diarchy and solve the problems of the world. Now, to think that India and the United States can do something, no, I think this is a new process which has begun from our side under a new Prime Minister who has the energy and the vitality to upgrade each of these relationships. And at the end of the day, we will have to work on each segment of that relationship with nuclear energy.
Exactly.
Even the best will in the world, if you do a contract now, if GE and Westinghouse are willing to accept this risk management scheme through an insurance pool, it'll take 10 years before a reactor is established and is functioning. Same thing with the solar energy. Even if you start production now, it will take minimum of 1 to 3 years. Now, for a government which has placed total emphasis on the domestic economy, which wants to use the revival of the economy and kickstarting the manufacturing sector as a basis, everything in foreign policy now, rightly so, is viewed in terms of what it can do for the transformation of the domestic economy.
And that's why Make in India,
the United States is most important. To me, we have more poor people than all the poor people in the least developed countries of the world put together. We have 10 million people coming into the job market from the universities, another 5 million from outside. If you have to cater to them to stop India becoming a ticking time bomb, you need the United States. So I think for India's domestic...
But have we really kind of reached up to a level that you're satisfied?
I think we made a good beginning. And basically, if you look at energy, you look at all other areas, but then, in a relationship, it takes two to tango. There are some things
because sometimes you're lost in symbolism. I mean, but of course, hotline starting, I mean, all these things happening, defense cooperation, of course.
Defense cooperation resulted in $9 billion worth of equipment and purchases on defense from the United States in the last 10 years, 9 billion. The kind of rollover or extension of the defense framework cooperation agreement will result in more buying and selling. But the real challenge is, how do you utilize this economic activity, the technology and etc., to really build our own manufacturing base? Defense also has difficulties. They make those who produce cutting edge technologies and that kind of are not normally happy to share their technology. So you have to find ways of doing this. That is the real challenge. The success is not the visit. The visit is a success. I mean, chai pe charcha and all that. But the real success will lie and will come when you have to translate the follow-up into concrete action. And I think with a government led by Prime Minister Modi and others who are committed to that, I think we have a reasonable prospect.
But I will again come back to China also, because that's where I think our focus has to be really correct. And I mean, what is the roadmap you think that we have in terms of...
Well, with China, it's very clear. The Prime Minister has already indicated that he wants deeper economic engagement. But equally, I think both sides are conscious of the fact that they have an outstanding border dispute. There have, I think, been 15, 16, 17 rounds of meetings of the special representatives. It hasn't moved very much forward. we have to decide on a roadmap. The roadmap is not for me and you to decide. It is to be decided by the governments on the two sides. The first visit of the President Xi took place immediately, almost after the new government was elected in Delhi. Prime Minister's forthcoming visit in May would have given us enough time for this thing to be thought through, so that the contours of a roadmap can then be worked out.
Sir, moving on from this whole SAARC initiative that during the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Modi came to be seen, what kind of journey do you think we are making in terms of looking at our neighbors? Some of them are critical to us. How do you think we have kind of moved from there, which was really talked about that time, to this time that we're talking?
I think, first of all, the decision to invite the heads of state and government from the SAARC regions was an eminently sensible decision, point one. Point two, it signaled that the countries in our neighborhood are vital to India's interest, their economic well-being is vital to our interest, and that we are willing to walk the extra mile. I think the invitation to Pakistan in particular was significant, and the signal sent then was, look, we are willing to walk the extra mile. But that requires our neighbors also in turn to take some steps.
My question is, how much has it worked?
Well, it has worked. I would like to think it's beginning to look good with Bangladesh, with Sri Lanka, with Nepal. Even on Pakistan, I'm optimistic. I think at the end of the day, Pakistan will realize that there is some merit in, for its own sake, not for India's sake, merit in clamping down on domestic terror machines. Now, we have always said that they are clamping down on those parts of the terror machine which is problematic to them, not the one which comes in our direction. But there are several elements. Peace and tranquility along the ceasefire along the border. Yeah. Then there are issues of reining in the terror machine, and to be able to talk about differences in an atmosphere of calm. I think that is what the Prime Minister and his team would like to do. But in this, as in other things, it takes two to tango. So we will require reciprocal gestures and goodwill.
Mr. Puri, with your kind of experience and expertise, I think as an anchor I have too many questions to ask, and I think it will take a lot of time to really finish all that. But I think in such a time that we have right now for this show, it's been real pleasure talking to you, and you've been answering all the questions. I mean, I think there's more to you, and maybe we'll need some more time, maybe some other edition that we'll be talking to you about many issues again. But also, before I finish and wrap up, what's your quest? Since on the show we asked this question, for Mr. Hardeep Puri, what's the quest that is there in front?
I started by telling you that I'm reinventing myself. There are three parts of me. One is a little bit of a civil servant which is left, which is my Secretary Generalship of the Independent Commission on Multilateralism. I have to do that for the next 18 months or so. But there is also the social entrepreneur in me. I'm working on a number of projects which are, which are payback projects. These are in the area of energy, in the area of IT. And the third is one on which I made a little progress. I'm hoping to send the chapterization of my book to the publisher this evening. So I'm doing these three simultaneously. Thank you.
So we'll be talking to an author, a politician, a diplomat maybe.
I must get the publisher to tell me that this is what is doable, and then yes, I want to finish it in a time-bound manner.
Thank you so much for talking to us here on the Quest on Rajya Sabha TV, and that was Mr. Hardeep Puri talking to us, and of course, I think it was very inspiring and also interesting at the same time to listen to him on wider range of issues. Thanks for watching this particular edition of the Quest on Rajya Sabha TV. Namaskar. Bye-bye.